Welcome to Sean Union this week, and this week is going to be a little different. I'm going to take a second out from camera stuff and making stuff just to look at photography. So if you looked at my Flickr page, and you can check out my Flickr page in the description, I've been taking a lot more pictures recently, and I've stumbled across something really cool. So a little bit of backstory is I've been taking a lot of pictures in the past year, but I've been kind of getting bored of how I'm taking pictures and what I'm taking pictures of. They're really flat images, and I'm using the same type of composition over and over again. So the idea of a square within a square and these really empty scenescapes, but they're all very square. And I kind of knew that I was missing something from my photography and missing something that I needed to add and kind of give life back into my photography. I'm doing so much video work that I need to just go back to what, I really fell in love with, which was taking pictures. And the interesting thing is, if you look at this set right here, it was from some film scans in Mexico. And the film scans in Mexico made me have this huge breakthrough. And the breakthrough is looking at things in the negative. So I'm going to pull up one of the negatives that I have, and I'll minimize this real quick. And these are what the negatives look like. So I am using my DSLR, putting the negatives on a piece of glass that has an LED under it and just taking a picture of it. So a pretty simple setup. So let's pull up one of the negatives. And so this is a world we rarely see. So we take a picture and we rarely see this negative. But the thing that I realized when I was editing these negatives was I wasn't trying to make the picture be anything. So when you put this image in the negative and I started editing it, I wasn't editing it to make it be the pyramid I saw on that day. And I wasn't trying to edit it to make it look like the people were well composed or make them well exposed. When I started editing it, and I'm going to start editing it right now, I was just trying to make it be the best for the picture and to see if I could compose and make something that was well designed. So I'm reading a lot of books on composition, and composition more is about how you make shapes interact and how you make things interact within an image. So let's start making some edits right here. So going to adjust color in Mac, and I'm going to adjust just looking in the negative. So we're going to see that the sky has a lot of details here. This tree right here is really blown out. So there's a lot of highlights here. It looks like, and just comparing this, just looking at this image right here, so there's a lot of highlights here, and we need to bring that back, and these people are blown out. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull the blacks up so we can get some details in the sky. See, there's a lot more details in the sky now. And then we're going to pull this actually up a little bit more to get more details in those bodies. So we have more details in the trees, there's more separation. And maybe we can pull this back down a little bit, but we're keeping as much detail as possible now. So now you're having a way stronger image than what you had before. So let's go back, let's reset that. You see that you lost a lot of that. So the details in the tree, the details in the sky are totally lost on here. So, but undo, reset all, and now it's back. So editing from the negative and doing all your corrections from a negative and looking at how it was composed there. So the trick is I'm just going to invert my screen now on my Mac using a shortcut. And this is the image I get. So this is the image you get, and you can see that the screen looks really funny because it's inverted, but the negative looks really good. And there's actually a way better mode of editing for me and a way better mode of thinking of my picture. So once I saw this and I started thinking about it, it kind of hit me on a plane ride, and I was like, whoa, I should be doing this all the time. I shouldn't try to be trying to shoot something. I should be trying to look at shapes and textures and dark and light and trying to make those things work first and then get my subjects and then get those things lined up. So this sounds pretty crazy, but then I started to look at some photographers and some of my own work. So let's shrink this back. So going back to my Flickr page, I pulled up some of the pictures I really liked. And again, I'm going to switch. This is the positive, and we're going to go into the negative. So going to the negative, how do my images look in the negative? And these are ones that I like and people like. So these are ones with a lot of faves, a lot of views, and stuff I really think is good too. So when we look at this one in the negative, you're going to see that this door stands out. And when you look on the positive side, you can see that it's a yellow against red, but it still stands out in the negative, and there's really good texture here. So the texture, I think, is easy to see in the positive, but a lot of times you miss it. You miss it because you're looking at the image, you're looking for what it is, but when you reverse it, you're just looking at these shapes and you're looking at the colors, and you're looking at it in a really weird way. So just trying to divorce yourself from what it really is. And I still think it works in the negative. We'll switch back to this one. This one you're going to see is one of streets I took in New Orleans. You're going to see that there's this really clean line here, and it's really visible by looking in the negative. And you're gonna see that there's reflections right here, and there's colors, and there's this big dark in the background, and there's whites in the foreground. I probably would edit this even more now if I had to do it differently. And we'll go look at the positive version of this one. And this last one is the really crazy one. So the last one is a black and white image I took, and I like the shadows. So here, looking in the positive, you're gonna see that there's this light coming from this side, and then there's a light coming from this side, and there's this little cat right here, and I took it at my dad's garage. And it kind of works, and there's some soft light coming here, but when you switch it to the negative, you're gonna see that there's a lot going on here. So there's these very strong darks, there's these very strong whites, and as an image and as a design, it's really cool. There's a triangle here, there's a triangle over here, and there's all this little texture and all these little details coming over here, but it's kind of really well balanced, and it's an image I really like. So getting away from my images and looking at some really good images. So Henri Cartier-Bresson is probably one of the most famous photographers of all time, if not the best photographer of all time. Use one camera, use one lens, and I when I saw this trick, I was like, well, how does his images hold up to this negative tester, composing a negative? And you're gonna see some crazy things. So let's look at this one first, and I'm gonna switch my screen over. So this is one where it's a guy jumping over this pond, and you'll see that his uses of light and darks is pretty perfect. So these are really strong contrasts right here, but you see the details in the sky, you see these details in the background, and these are things I think I miss in the positive. In the positive, I'm trying to look at this image and trying to make sense of it, and trying to make sense of the actual content. But when I'm looking in the negative, I'm just looking at on design, on lights and darks, and it really works. It works really strongly. So this is another one. This is a girl in a park, and you're gonna see that his design here is really amazing. So she is in this figure right here is on this dark corner. It's a dark figure against this light background, and the light background, having it like that, gives her separation, gives her definition. And you see that there's these darks right here. So there's this dark dress, there's these dark corners right here. There's a lot of detail, and you have these really bright whites right here. But when we inverse it, we're gonna see this, and we're gonna see that she is given definition. She breaks away from the background, and this is why this image works, and this is why a lot of his images work. He's a master at this. Another one I really like is this right here. So you can see these kids, these figures right here, and you can see that it looks, when we look at it in the positive, when you look at this image in the positive, you can see that there's layers and there's stuff going on, but when you switch it to the negative, you're gonna see his magic trick. So his magic trick, there's this dark line right here, and there's clear blacks. The sky is a clear black, and these kids are highlights. So these kids are the center of this image. And this is the thing I started noticing. When I was able to turn things into the negative, I could quickly figure out what is the center and what is the composition quickly. So these three kids right here, they form a little triangle. These other three kids form a secondary triangle, but they're not just standing against a flat backdrop. They're standing against a backdrop with a lot of texture and a lot of depth. So this black sky, this light gray, darker gray, mid-tone gray for these buildings right here, and then a lighter gray in the front. So Cartier-Bresson he knows what he's doing, and he knows how to work his negative, and he knows how to work his image. So I hope this all doesn't seem too vague, and I hope it makes a little bit of sense. But the thing I kind of want everyone to try is, so get your phone or get your camera and put it into the negative if you can. So you're not looking at your image as you normally would, and not trying to compose as you normally would, and just look at it as shapes. So like this, as darks and lights, and how are they going to work out, and how are you going to balance them? So here you can see that he puts these lighter figures in the front, and there's this big balance of white in the back. So there's a cut here, a big triangle right here almost, or this big square shape right here, and there's a clear triangle right here, but because it's so dark, he has to balance it out, and he puts them in the foreground. And when we look at the positive side, you're going to see that's what he was doing. You're going to see just his use of darks and lights is really perfect. And it's easier to see that, I think, in the negative. So hopefully you can take some of your photos and some of your compositions and start thinking like this. And for me, this process is going to be really cool, and it's already inspiring me to shoot in different ways and to look at my photography a little different. Maybe not trying to shoot something, but trying to set up images and trying to set up shapes and just forms that are more basic and more simple. So hope you guys enjoyed that. It's going to be a little different, and I will update you on my Flickr about how this goes and how this process goes. But I think it's really exciting, and I hope you guys think it is too. So remember to tune in next week, and we'll get back to the normal stuff, the cameras and the finished building the projects. But just wanted to take some time out to talk about this. Thank you. Bye.